Welcome to The World Today. I'm Vikas Majid Khan. We're going to take our cue from the speech or the interview that you just witnessed. TRT was interviewing Prime Minister Imran Khan, and you just witnessed that interview, and that is going to be our first talking point. The Prime Minister said that India cannot stop the freedom movement in occupied Kashmir. And our second topic also has to do with the talks with the Taliban. The Afghan president's special envoy is to arrive today, and we will be talking about that in some detail. Let me introduce my guests in the studio joining me for the conversation today. First of all, we have Major Ehsan Bashir. Joining him, we have Nasrullah Mirza Saab, and with him we have Qamar Cheema. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Sir, you also witnessed the Prime Minister's interview. The most important thing that he said regarding Pakistan's relationship with India is really down to Kashmir, sir. And the Prime Minister said that despite New Delhi's many attempts, India will never be able to suppress the freedom movement of the people of occupied Kashmir. He also further said that Pakistan has always wanted a dialogue with India, but New Delhi has refused Pakistan's peace overtures a number of times, and there is only so much that a person can take, so much rejection a person can take, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is moreover involved in human rights violations in Indian occupied Kashmir, and the entire world is now cognizant of this fact. So, do you think that this interview has given us a better picture of what's going on in the Prime Minister's mind, sir?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Wakasab, for this very important thing. And I would say that the Prime Minister has very rightly brought out a very important aspect of the regional peace. Because once we say that there is only one contagious issue which is still unsettled in this region, and that is the flashpoint where the two nuclear states are locked horn to horn, and nobody is ready to basically withdraw from its stance of claiming over Kashmir. But it's not the matter of really a claim over Kashmir. Kashmir is an indigenous movement by the Kashmiri people, and it is an unfinished agenda of the UN, which has gone and taken all these years of 71 years of history, has seen that how the atrocities have grown in number of through the deployment of Indian army.
And it's also the main reason for the deprivation and also the lack of progress of the entire region, sir. And it has a huge impact on the security of this entire region.
Absolutely. And I think that Prime Minister at this time has very categorically, because he is talking loud about, and Pakistan talks loud about peace in this region now.
Absolutely.
And peace sense is important. The peace is directly linked with India and Pakistan peace in this region for better progress of the people living in this region. A huge number of people living in this region definitely deserves this kind of living which we cherish for a very long time. We really want to see that. I at least is a person who wants to really see that classic peace in this region which we cherish for, which we want to see right from our childhood. Till today we have not been able to see that. It has happened because the Indian policy on Kashmir has been totally out of the context. They are not ready to basically accept the fact that yes, this is an indigenous movement, and the people of Kashmir really wants that right of self-determination. It is may not go in favor of Pakistan, but then giving them the right of self-determination is their born right, for which they have fought this war. I think the Indian general public has been able to make a convincing dialogue now, engaging the Indian government, which is a great success in its own way, that the entire Indian people, general public of the people, if you try to listen to them, if you try to read their articles in the newspapers, generally if you want to interact with them, not living particularly in India, they are of the view that why not? Why should they not be given the right of self-determination? Because it has got some legal strength and support to it. It's not only that it has just come out of it and someone is trying to claim that you go ahead and give it to them. No, it is their born right.
And on moral and humanitarian,
by the UN.
Absolutely, sir. Moral and humanitarian grounds also come into play when we talk about the plight of the Kashmiri people. And everybody around the world would agree with what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Nasrullah Saab, recently the Norwegian Prime Minister also gave an interview in India, and in her comments, she said that there is no military solution to the Kashmir conflict, and she even went a step further and offered a mediatory role if Pakistan and India were willing to talk or even willing to give that role to the Norwegians. So even people as far away in Europe, in Norway, are cognizant of the problem of Kashmir, and she said it in no uncertain terms. In fact, she had to face a bit of flack from the Indian media and certain Indian governmental quarters for her comments. How do you view this statement, sir?
Certainly, I think international community is very much cognizant of all this situation which is going on, and because solution is only through dialogue and peace we can reach to that. And Norwegian itself, they have been very much popular in that, because all history what
they have played the role of mediator in many such
internationally
issues.
In many,
yes,
many conflicts, and resolved that also. But having that, actually the situation and the problem between India and Pakistan, that is not in the way as India is projecting that issue, because third party mediation is not acceptable to India, and that is the problem actually, because whatever has been settled between India and Pakistan up till now, that was through third party. Indus Water Treaty, after that Tashkent Declaration, and so on. But at Simla, they agreed, they said, okay, we have to resolve our mutual issues by dialogue and bilaterally. And but that bilaterally doesn't mean all the time we're talking and just talking for that.
Well, it's an excuse that they're using to basically brush the issue under the carpet, because when we talk about a bilateral engagement, they even refuse to engage with us bilaterally.
From the very beginning, it is third party is there, because India taken...
The UN is there, sir.
India taken Kashmir issue to the United Nations.
Absolutely.
And third party is there. And I think that is the only way to pressurize India through a party, or persuade India on that side, that unless there is a dialogue on that and there is a third party intervention to really facilitate that dialogue, I think is not possible between India and Pakistan to directly talk on and settle that issue.
Unfortunate, sir, but that seems to be the case. Cheema Saab, when we talk about the situation in Kashmir, we are also seeing that the violence and oppression that is being meted out by the Indian occupation forces or the Indian army have increased manyfold over the past year or so. Ever since the BJP government came into power, we've seen the Indian military might come much harder down onto the poor Kashmiri people. In that vein, there is a new weapon that has now been introduced after the pellet guns that blinded so many innocent children and women. We have plastic bullets that are now being provided to the Indian army to control civilian unarmed crowds. What do you think about that, sir? And isn't there some law which prohibits the use of such weapons against innocent civilians?
Well, I think Pakistan's job has been much easier since the global human rights standards have been violated by the Indian military. And I think this is not what we are talking. If you just look at the 2018 Human Rights Watch report and the Indian section, I think that speaks volumes of the human rights violations going on. But I think that is not being picked up by even Pakistani authorities or by the international community, so that it could be used as a tool, or it could be used as an instrument to show the secular face, the so-called secular face of India. I think what Pakistan is talking, that is all being mentioned by the Amnesty International. Even yesterday, the Amnesty International gave a report that the Greenpeace movement and the Amnesty International in India, they're being targeted for reporting. And I think this is not about Kashmir. It is happening in the mainland New Delhi, so the main centers of India. So that speaks that how the Indian government is so disturbed, because there are elections drawing, and they have to maintain the domestic order, and they have to keep happy the international organizations as well, so that all that face and all that aura they have created of India, that is not damaged. So and I think, as Dr. Nasrullah was mentioning, I think what matters at the moment, I think this is the right time that whatever is happening, be it the pellet guns, be it the plastic guns, I think you can only talk on that if you got a value or you got a worth or somebody is listening to you. And I think that is the time right now. It is the time when the international community is knocking our door. They need us in Afghanistan. And I think we have always wasted time while bringing India on table, because either our own problems have been so big that we couldn't talk to the international community that what is happening in Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir, or what India is doing there. And we kept the international community engaged with our own bilateral problems or in our domestic issues. So I think at the moment, what we need to talk to the Americans is that they need to push India to come on table. So that at least that waiver India has got over the period of time, that India is so big, is so powerful, and no third power can dictate them to come on table. I think that time has come again. And remember, the Americans understand one thing, and that is that if there is any peace deal to happen in Afghanistan, that is to happen in next couple of months, or 3, 4, 5 months maximum. Otherwise, it will be again, the more lengthy debates may not bring something positive. So I think once again, Pakistan got an opportunity to push the Americans, to push the other parties, that they need to ask India to be a responsible partner in South Asia. They have created, the entire bilateral, multilateral environment in South Asia. It has been jeopardized. We don't see any responsibility coming from any country, because India is so powerful. Neither Bangladesh nor Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, everybody is so scared of India because they have got a big trade, there's a big market, and the personal influence, the relations. So I think all that is happening. We have been talking in this show. We have, I think, spoken dozens of times about the human rights violations. Even if the Amnesty International, the Human Rights Watch, they're speaking of the human rights violations, then I think they're bigger forums than us. But still, nobody's listening to those forums. So all what matters is that we actually raise this issue. This must be on the agenda item. This issue is not an agenda item so far. So if it is an agenda item, I think that will be the time everybody will listen us. And I think along with these Afghan talks going on, I think the Kashmir crisis or the human rights violations, or at least making India realize that you are not a country that can do whatever it wants to do. So I think there must be something that should realize India that they need to behave, and they need to behave as per their own constitution, and not as per, and they need to behave as per the global aspirations of sovereignty and equality
and a peaceful world.
Yes, and you, at the same time, you also need to behave that you are a member of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, because you are signatory to it. So I think so that India should realize this, that we have to behave. If we are a secular country, we are the largest democracy, we need to have the tenets of democracy and secularism.
Well, just to give a case in point, the recent Kartarpur border opening, sir, is one of Pakistan's goodwill gestures towards Indian citizens. That is also being politicized by the Indian government. For example, the Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Amrinder Singh, has claimed that the government of India has not released a single penny or any funds for the construction of the corridor in Kartarpur, and they had promised to do that. So that just shows you the intentions of the Indians vis-a-vis trying to establish a peaceful region. What would you like to comment about that, sir?
I think let's not forget that India always tries to use the anti-Pakistan segment for their elections, and they try to charge their people generally, and they try to convince them that here is an enemy country sitting next to us, and we are quite fearful of them, and they are getting involved into us. And also, we should also be mindful that there are separatist movements which are going on and getting geared up in India, are also another kind of fear which India lives with Pakistan. So once they try to talk with Pakistan on any forum or anything, on the diplomatic forum or anything, they are always having that thing at the back of their mind, that where and how Pakistan can make the difference, and how can they benefit themselves, and we can lose the war without fighting even one. So that is in the backdrop of all this, they have seen Kartarpur also accordingly. They have seen that here is getting up of relationing, strengthening of relationing between Sikhs and Pakistan, and they are getting, so tomorrow maybe there is something which is not in the better interest of India. So they would always like to stop it to a place, they will like to go on to it, but then they will not like to have a free chance, a free run by Pakistan onto that. So that was the reason that Indians suddenly jerk out of that jerk, which they were not expecting, that this kind of brotherly atmosphere can change the whole scenario in this region, where India and Pakistan are seen now by, or will be viewed by the world, that here is Pakistan, which is trying to go, even what the Prime Minister also says, you take one step, we take two steps towards you. Here is Pakistan, which is taking actions on ground, that yes, they want to, they're so serious about improving their relations, not only with Afghanistan, but with India as well. So here it is, and this is one of the examples of offering and opening up of Kartarpura, and giving relaxations of to the Sikhs all over the world to come over and come there. So that was where the Indians had not much of options in their bag at that particular time, except to do it first, to say no to it, and then once they thought, some thought process went in, then a softening kind of attitude was seen, and they were trying to have better talks. They denial of the talks, then coming on to the table, then trying to talk about it, then trying to evaluate that what can we do towards our side, what will be your on your side, what will be done, so what will be the dynamics, what will be the rules for all this. So then this thought came a little later, I think, once they thought. But Pakistan is very clear that we want peace in this region. And that is what Pakistan is open with to everyone. Pakistan is openly telling the whole world, here we are, we have fought a war against this menace of terrorism for such a long time, and no country in the world has ever seen this kind of disaster, which we have gone through. We have gone through such a huge trauma. Our people are still, the children are still living with that trauma, in our country. So Pakistan does not want to have any kind of these things coming back. We are the greatest pleaders of the peace in this region, not only in this peace, but the entire world over. But the thing is that Pakistan should also take a central, should try to become a central figure now. Because you see, our presence, by just merely saying that we are pleaders of peace, is not sufficient. We need to have a central role now, and that role has to be there. We need to ask for that role now, because we have proved to the world that we are the ones, those who want peace in the world, and this is what we can do to bring in peace for the world over. But now, at the same time, we want the regional powers and the global powers also to recognize and give that main role to Pakistan to lead this peace process the world.
Indeed, sir. And I think starting with Kashmir, that would be the first step.
Absolutely.
Nasrullah Saab, let's also talk about the fact that when we talk about Kashmir, it's always swept under the carpet. We never really talk about the atrocities that have been going on, and we don't also talk about the way the world is ignoring the Kashmir issue at their own peril. We've talked about the nuclear-armed neighbors, Pakistan and India, but we, as the Prime Minister also mentioned, would be suicidal, and the doctrine is also called MAD, which is mutually assured destruction. So why is it that India still pursues a negative intention within the environment and refuses to engage with Pakistan on this most vital issue? Secondly, sir, when we talk about Donald Trump and the way he has been dealing with India recently in Afghanistan, he said that India has not really played much of a role in Afghanistan the way the president was expecting. And now we're seeing that he's not so happy with the situation. So talking about the waiver that India has gotten over Chabahar and also oil imports from Iran might be reviewed by the US. And if that happens, can we also pressurize the OIC, Saudi Arabia, other countries that are supplying oil to India to withhold their supplies? I mean, if the global community really gets serious and wants to force India's hand into doing the right thing, then they can withhold India's oil supplies if they really want to force India to do the right things. Why can't we work on this agenda?
Certainly. Coming to your first point, why India is really doing all that and not interested in dialogue and all that. The reason being, India after 9/11 especially, even before that, but after 9/11, the whole scenario has been changed, and that scenario has provided an excuse to India to control any type of indigenous movement which has been really labeled as terrorism internationally. States has been given this power, rather that has been enhanced, that within their own territorial boundaries they have to implement all types of laws, rules and regulation to be implemented within that, in cognizance with the international rules whatever has been developed on terrorism. And that has created many types of rules and regulations which are really against the basic principles and rights of the people and citizens within the state. And that has been really exploited by India and labeling it that it is a terrorism. And that has been sold out word over and has been accepted word over. Even till now that has been being accepted. But yes, that is being changed now, because indigenous movement which reached to a level that now India is also thinking about that, how to really settle it, because they have tried a lot. By war, neither India nor Pakistan has really able to recapture Kashmir or settle the issue by war, because nuclear power.
We've already had 4 wars with no results.
Already 4, not only nuclear, even before that.
That's right, sir.
Both has tried, time and again, but that not happened, because that is the only, I think, the issue where sincere and dialogue are required between India and Pakistan. And international community at this moment, after many reports which are coming up, and recent one from United Nations itself against the human rights violation which is going on in India, those rules and regulations and whatever draconian laws or black laws and has been really in operation in Kashmir, in other part of India too, but especially in Kashmir, that are required to be reviewed, because international pressure may come up now after what the United Nations report has come up, and that may give a chance to India to really go for this type of settlement, that the violation in terms of human rights, that at least should be curtailed.
Yeah, the 700,000 troops that are stationed there must be recalled, and the people should be allowed to breathe. I think that is the first step.
That's the first step. And coming to your second question related to
international pressure in terms of withholding
how
oil supplies.
How really that can be put into action.
If they're serious,
India.
they can do that, sir.
Of course, what happened in Afghanistan till now? Because at the end is dialogue, and all international community and all the actors, they are really pressurizing for that this is the only solution, and that is what international community has to do that. How we can exploit that situation? That is our diplomacy, and our diplomacy has been trying for that, no doubt. Recently, what diplomacy we have used vis-a-vis India specifically, as we are talking about the corridor itself, which has been provided to the community, which is almost more than 12 to 20 crore people all around the world and within India, and also giving to, which is the Indian citizen, that right, not only to Sikh but the Hindu too. I think that is what Pakistan is projecting its case, and that is being, I think, now listened about that, and international community is watching it, that Pakistan is for peace, not whatever has been labeled earlier, that there is the terrorist state in itself, because that is what West has been labeling us, and we have been really facing that propaganda for many years till now. That is opportune time. Pakistan should exploit all types of resources, whatever it have, diplomatic, political, all moral and all means, to really project Kashmir issue itself as a human right issue.
Absolutely,
so
sir. On that note, sir, I think we should move on to our second topic, which is equally important, and of course that is Afghanistan. Chima Saab, the Afghan President, Mr. Ashraf Ghani's special representative, Mr. Omar Daudzai, is going to be in Pakistan very soon, and the talks are going to be between Afghanistan's Taliban and the US, but not the Afghan government. And Pakistan has played a very important role in facilitating this entire process, trying to bring peace to Afghanistan. How do you see the process moving forward, and what do you see the engagements of Mr. Umar Daudzai to be in Pakistan?
Well, I think so far what Pakistan has been successful in bringing Taliban on the table, and I think the Americans and the Taliban are going to talk in Doha on Wednesday and Thursday for the 2 days, and they refuse that we don't want the Afghan government to be on the table. Although the Saudis has asked the Taliban that we want the Afghan government to be on the table, so that is why they have shifted the venue from Riyadh to Doha. So that has been one of the concern of the Taliban. So it means that they believe that the core party in this conflict is the Americans, because they have to withdraw from Afghanistan. I think what matters at the moment is that the Iranians are very active. There are two basically the peace process, I believe, side by side going on. It is the China, Russia, Pakistan, and Iran. They're working on one side. It is the America along with the Afghanistan and maybe with the Saudi Arabia working on the other side. The Taliban are not happy what is happening, where might be the Taliban may not be happy what the Saudis may be doing, or together with the Americans. They may be happy because they want a regional support for the dialogue, and they believe that Saudi Arabia may be an extra regional player for them, although they have an influence of basically being an Islamic country. That is one thing, but they believe that any solution that will come, well, the regional actors may be more positive. Definitely they have a trust on Pakistan, and Pakistan, I think, really believes that not having a venue in Pakistan may be good for the dialogue, maybe at times, because we have seen that whenever we have talks here in Pakistan, there are certain, there is always an issue. So what is happening at the moment, I just saw a 40-page possible negotiated settlement. I just got the draft of that. That was published by the RAND Corporation. It is about to be published, by the way. And there are certain very important things in that.
Please share those with us, sir.
Yeah, I was just, if you just can let me read. One of the things is that they're going to have a comprehensive ceasefire on that. That is the core bargain in that. Then there is a complete renunciation of links with the international terrorist groups. This is what the Americans are demanding from the Taliban. At the same time, there is going to be the Afghanistan support team, a new thing is coming, and the Afghanistan support team means that the great powers along with the regional powers are going to support Afghanistan, so that the organizations like ISIS and many others like Khorasan group, they may not be active, so that the Afghans are able enough to defeat those groups in case non-state actors. So that is Afghan support team may be established in that. And then there is a phased withdrawal that is to come, and that may take some 18 months of this phased withdrawals. And then I think the Americans have kept asking for that we will support the civilian assistance we will always be giving to the Afghanistan. At the same time, this is the core bargain. But what is happening at the political side in Afghanistan is that the presidential powers are being reduced. And so there will be multiple vice presidents, or the chief executive powers will be increased.
Or a prime minister.
Yeah, or a prime minister, so that a strong, powerful president with this ethnic division in Afghanistan is not going to be a very attractive system for the political system for the Afghanistan.
So it seems that things are really moving quite fast on the ground within Afghanistan, and we might be actually seeing the contours of a peace process taking shape, which is great news for the region itself. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and this is a subject that we will be talking about in our subsequent programs. So thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. Well, you heard the conversation, and as always, we like to say, please draw your own conclusions from what you've heard. On that note, it's goodbye.